Though, to be fair, this does look like it might be the higher end. I mean, obviously against Elevate, a bit more of a favor for Elevate, but still a higher percentage for Most Wanted too. Continuum just has looked so good. And like I said, haven't dropped the map. They've looked unstoppable.
Do you think that leading into this matchup, going into the possibility of a third map, we'll see a lot of viewing parties like we've seen last time in the past who are dubbing themselves the 20% in this instance?
Or the 14% or the 16%. I mean, I should hope so. Viewing parties have actually taken off. I know that.
Yeah, it's been
I know
great.
that we've been hosting some leagues have been hosting them. When I'm around for Challenger League and stuff like that, I try to host them because I think ultimately like it enriches the community. And truth be told, it's really great to have other pro players, other Challenger League teams, members of community, other leagues, casters, that sort of thing, all just hang out and watch it. So I have a feeling there are going to be a couple. And yeah, the involvement's great. I know that there will be the CTM fans that'll be active in theirs, but the 20% right now is probably alive and well, and I'm assuming in Most Wanted's Discord right now.
Absolutely. But leading into this actual map, it's been a slow start so far. Seems like it's going to be a master defense for the first one here from Most Wanted. Young getting the initial leadoff frag onto Trippin. Applauding to Young there a little bit. He has always been one of those players who's excelled at Blackbeard play. And while he does walk away from that engagement with 1 HP, he did get the kill, and that's the most important thing.
And Trippin was a very key component to how well they were able to do against Elevate. I don't think we can underscore it at all. You see King Leo is poised to strike onto Young if he gets pushed. And I like this too. They have a very heavy defense on the main floor. You can see they've castled it off. They had Trippin hold up inside a kitchen. And now, King Leo does look like he sees Young, but allows the Blackbeard to get away as it's going to be a battle between the two FBI operators. Canadian, wow, a refrag from Thinking Nade as Chala takes down Canadian as Canadian grabs Nade. Now Chala himself is going to be under fire. And how good have we seen NVK? It's surprising that he's able to let that kill escape him.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it still will be the man advantage in favor of Continuum, even after having lost that Canadian push into the bathroom. Now, despite that man advantage, they haven't established a lot of control. You could see their clear was coming in from below, but look at it now. Half the round is gone, and Most Wanted is situated very well on this top floor where the actual bomb site is. Continuum looking to start their primary attack phase now, going in towards VIP.
And one thing that Most Wanted has been so proficient at this season has been getting off of roam and back to site safely. I mean, they did lose 2, but at the same time, you've now got 3 on site that are well prepared. You have Chala as your aggressive site player. You've got Redeemer, who is playing Echo and doing a much better job of it. And King Leo is finally going to see Young again. Failed to get the kill, and NVK from below on a great shot through the floor. And now Most Wanted has only got 2 left. CTM, a great start thus far.
Yeah, but as the time ticks away, they've really got to start emphasizing that pressure, at least on one front of this battlefield. Push in. Chala's going to try and maintain control over these south main lobby stairs. BC going to, meanwhile, take out Redeemer. Chala with another kill onto NVK. He's the only one to get kills for his team so far this round. And Young repelling on the window. Not going to let that Chala slip through. Very airtight hold there from Continuum. Once they established that control, they did not allow any potential for the retake.
And you could see that Young was also on a drone there as well. He was able to drone Chala out after NVK went down. Of course, there's going to be the call that he's pushing up inside and towards the site, and then Young just needed to hop off and prepare. He held a nice angle, and that's exactly textbook Blackbeard play that you need to see, and he's making it work.
So, what you said in during that round was Most Wanted. They've been so proficient at keeping their roam game alive. That's been one of their main draws. That's what established them as a team, I think, throughout the season. It's what allowed them to beat Elevate twice. Continuum, very clearly they're reading into it. You saw their attack for the entire first half of the round was all under the bomb site, which arguably doesn't actually lend you a lot of control. But their primary focus was not control. In fact, it was to simply kill the roamers. And they did just that very effectively. After they had established that man advantage, simply came back up, started their normal push from VIP, and that's all she really wrote. Now, Young was at 1 HP throughout that entire round, essentially, after getting the first kill against Trippin. And that's a big risk, as he was such a pivotal operator and player for the attack. However, because the one bullet missed from all the engagements he was through, Unfortunately, I think that could have been the bullet that would have allowed Most Wanted to walk away with that round.
Right, and it, like you said, how they were able to pick off those roamers is CTM has already assessed that one of the biggest weaknesses of Elevate was their roam clear. It just wasn't where it needed to be, and because of that, they gave too much ground to Most Wanted to be able to have map control. And I mean, there were some very well-coordinated plays by CTM, which is something we've seen so far. It's not outside of the norm whatsoever, and now Most Wanted is going to need to try to push in. I like that CTM is guarding Sunrise and Blue Bar, but mostly defending upstairs.
Yeah, they have under their control quite a lot of bars right now, and you could see Most Wanted attempting to put emphasis on the top floor. So it's the same thing for Most Wanted on attack as it was for Continuum on attack. Now as they open up Billiards, they are going to force two of these defenders deeper into the bar upstairs, but they have an out impacting into the garden, so they can get away safely, and I think they've done just that. So Most Wanted have established top floor control for the most part, but they did not get any kills in this clear. They weren't assertive enough, and that's going to be a much more successful roam game, I think, for Continuum, especially now as MVK gets a kill onto King Leo than we saw, and another kill from Canadian. So already this defense looking much more solid from Continuum on a very different bomb site, but using the same sort of mindset, emphasizing that roam game.
It's been a paltry entry so far for Most Wanted. Now losing your Ash and your Jackal, and on top of that, now losing your Sledge as NVK gets his second kill, and Chala is going to let him get away, and they're going to peek again. They're going to do battle. Last time around, it was NVK who won. A C4 will go. Nothing there whatsoever, but they will do battle through that wall. No bullet pen kills whatsoever. Redeemer gets the first kill for Most Wanted, so that's Young down. They've lost their castle, but they still only have 45 seconds left. Chala's primary role to get that defuse plan off is great, and now Redeemer is going to get one onto Canadian as well before Redeemer goes down to BC. That leaves just Chala all by himself. Second round in a row that he's the last one alive, and the pressure, it's got to get to you at some point. I mean, now 2 rounds that your hopes have been pinned on one guy against a Mira, a Smoke, and a Mute. He's got good control here, but he's going to have quite the amount of hurdles to get through. And there's going to be a mirror window there that's tricky as well in the final 15 seconds. With the diffuser inches in. He's going to have to get the plant off, but Smoke will go down. They do see him, and through that exposed wall, BC gets the final kill, and CTM already up 2-0.
An excellent defense there from Continuum, and you have to attribute that a lot to not losing anybody on that top floor roam, despite the proficiency of the Most Wanted clear. You saw the pressure was getting to those roamers. They had to fall back. It wasn't a case of, oh, this is our strategy, we're going to feint. It's a case of, okay, we're being pressured, we're being sandwiched, we just need to get out with our lives. So good play on Continuum's part, but also a lack of assertiveness on Most Wanted's part. I think the match getting a little bit into their heads. Now the big problem here with it being 2-0 is it's 2-0 in favor of Continuum on Most Wanted's pick, Coastline. And this is the map. We talked about this during the ban phase. This is the map that Most Wanted needs to assert some amount of control and has to win. I think definitively they need to win on Coastline to win this series at all, because we're talking about Border and Oregon, 2 of Continuum's favored maps. Despite the, I mean, yes, arguably Most Wanted again likes Oregon, but still, it's a big hurdle.
The fact that they would pick Oregon over Border and speaks to me their confidence to close this out. And yeah, Coastline's a bit of a wild card. I will agree with you absolutely. I think this matchup is going to be won or lost right here. If Most Wanted is not successful on Coastline, I think that is going to be a huge problem for them for the rest, because even though they're really good on Oregon, I don't want to take this away because we have seen Most Wanted play really well on Oregon. They got shut out by Rogue on that map, and Rogue played Oregon very similarly to the way that CTM did. You saw that the way that they were able to dispatch both Slash as well as Eclipse for Rogue is very similar to the way that they have played both Young and NVK, or Canadian rather, and NVK on Oregon.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to come a lot down to that Oregon match as well, but this Coastline is going to establish the baseline with which these two teams play on that map, of course. Now, interesting thing here, the round is playing out a lot like it did on the first round. King Leo unknowingly has pressure onto Young and can push him off the window. The angle Young is trying to play, but just isn't aware of it because the window's not entirely broken. And it's really unfortunate that Most Wanted doesn't see their opportunity here. Oh, wow. NVK inches away from getting Chala's flank, and he is going to get the Ela. If Chala didn't hear that zap, he will definitely be caught off guard.
He must have there. He'll reposition, but you can see that NVK pre-fire is a pretty common spot. Anticipating a rush, doesn't get it, isn't able to secure a kill, but will now look for more as Chala lays prone in security, and they've set up to flank him now. And the only thing stopping Canadian from being able to flank Chala is thinking nade inside of the kitchen there. NVK is going to get hit by another concussive mine, and it looks like Chala might even be able to get out. Canadian, an ill-advised push inside on the castle, and now Chala's going to down NVK. So 2 kills for Most Wanted to start things off halfway through the round, and it looks like Most Wanted is finally in a position to capitalize on early picks.
You saw there, Most Wanted were only setting themselves up to get the refrags, but no, they walk away with 2 clean kills. BC, of course, going to get the kill onto King Leo as he vaults into the kitchen. But there is an Echo drone to slow him down, and Trippin is waiting inside a bathroom playing a very passive angle. He doesn't want to take this fight directly because he knows, I'm on defense, I don't need to, but no! He'll step out, and BC will establish the angle. What was going on there? Another kill from Necrox onto Thinking Need. Things are falling apart here for Most Wanted. They had everything they needed, and they simply didn't cover the angles as the push came in for Continuum towards the kitchen. They are going to fall back into the bomb site, though, with only 32 seconds, 2 versus 3. They still have the ability to win this round. But you have to argue, the initial win on that roam game from Most Wanted was a little bit tossed away.
They don't have the diffuser either. Now you see Necrox has finally gotten a hold of it. It's going to be Chala and Redeemer, the last 2 left. Redeemer hold up behind that wall. A frag grenade is going to get tossed from BC. That spells trouble. And you can see just a peek around the edge of that shield, the deployable shield. BC does see him. Who's going to win that fight? The C8 bounces just over his head, but he's going to be able to get Chala and look for a second in Redeemer. He pushes in, but Redeemer prevails. It's still 2v1 as diffuser goes down. Use that Echo to scout them out, Redeemer, but still have to worry about the time of the diffuser ticking away. And you can see Young is established at that window, and Necrox sitting just behind the sofa. So for Redeemer, almost a suicide mission to be able to get in. You can see he is going to hit Necrox, but he's still got Young there. I'm not sure if he saw on the drone. The Blackbeard is going to be the one waiting, and a smart move from Redeemer to crawl through, but it looks like that's it as Young on that window, so strong, puts CTM up 3-0.
And yeah, no, it was really, honestly, as soon as Young got on that window, it's the same thing as last time they were attacking that master bedroom. I mean, even if Young, he had 1 HP that last time. This time he was at full HP. That is not something you're going to be dealing with. A Blackbeard who is perfectly positioned? No, sir. He might have been able to get the Hibana, but honestly, it was kind of hopeless at that point, even with the Echo drone. Now, 3-0 in favor of Continuum. What the heck, Most Wanted? What's going on, guys? We know you can do this. Gotta imagine they're gonna be getting some rounds leading into the end of this map. Otherwise, it's gonna be pretty difficult for them to pull it back. Now, the thing with that last round specifically, Most Wanted had it. It was their round. They established the successful roam game, and they played it perfectly. Again, they were setting themselves up to get refrags on those roamers downstairs. They didn't even need that. They just got 2 free kills. And then, what did they not do? They didn't fall back to the bomb site, as we've seen them do so many times in the past on various different bomb sites throughout various different maps. They're so proficient at it, they get the kills. Or they waste a lot of time, and they make it all the way back to the bomb site, safe and sound. They seemed devastatingly determined to stay downstairs, and it just, honestly, cost them the round. Another thing, though, they just didn't hold the push from kitchen, not even slightly.
Well, I think the big reason why they weren't able to rotate successfully needs to be credit to Continuum. Continuum was set up in a position where the only way to rotate would have been through the lobby, because you can see they had kitchen locked down, they had locked down the bathroom, there was pressure there from both the Buck as well as the Blackbeard. And the problem with that is that you can rotate, sure, but a 3-speed Mira trying to be able to go through areas where CTM has a line of sight is going to be a problem. Or sorry, a 3 armor rather. A 1-speed Mira, my apologies, she is not a 3-speed, at least I don't think any changes have gone.
Are they buffing Mira? Did that happen?
I don't think so, but my point was that she's very slow, and because of that, if she tries to rotate, it's not going to work out very well. And another thing too is how poorly it has worked for King Leo on that window hold that we've seen him on now. 2 rounds in a row, he's been flushed out very early, and one of the things that we saw against Rogue was able to capitalize on getting early kills on King Leo. That's one of the best fraggers for MW out of the fight, as well as one of the roamers. It doesn't really do well for your team.
My big thing with the King Leo hold on that window is that they're relying on him to hold the kitchen, of course. That's his whole purpose there. And he's not only not holding the kitchen, he has been given the opportunity to get many kills and unfortunately not able to actually utilize that opportunity. And it's just disheartening to see. It's not King Leo's fault. It's just a very slight lack of information. And that could be remedied by a simple Valkyrie camp. But that's the last couple rounds. Chala, this round, going to get the first leading off frag. Half the round already underway, and Most Wanted have established control over VIP. They are now starting to try and push in through this kitchen. Once they have kitchen control, they can be a little bit more focused on the actual push.
Wow, now Trippin's going to get NVK down. You've lost your Valkyrie, and most importantly, Canadian being the first frag for Most Wanted means that the Echo is gone. That's no Yokai. Of course, the Yokai, if it's still around, has the opportunity for them to be able to relay what it's seeing, but it is out of commission, which means you do not have your closer in those final 20 to 30 seconds. And with a minute to go, Most Wanted is in good position. We said this last round. We're going to see if they can actually pull it through this time, as it is a 5v3. And CTM hold up now on site, but Most Wanted inches ever so close. Young is going to be the next to get droned out inside of B, thinking Nate up in the position where the traditional Blackbeard would be, and Young is in rough straits. He sees the sledge, can get a couple shots off, and is now going to need to run into the security of the more fortified A. Manages to get away, incredible.
Yeah.
The final 30 seconds. A bevy of smokes will go down. Young prepping a nitro cell to try and get somebody, but as it stands right now, nothing. Chala's going to get a kill for Necrox. A flawless round thus far for Most Wanted. As Young is going to push out and wait. He gets seen from behind. Trippin gets a kill. That's his second, a 5v1. It's all up to the Mira. BC is now going to get pushed, and he's going to be able to take down one member of Most Wanted in Trippin. But the diffuser being planted in theater just by the bed. Oh, great C4! And only 2 seconds left. They're going to have to pick it up and start planning. Redeemer will cycle in, and they're going to press BC as he looks to push out. There are 3 members of Most Wanted there, and just too much for him as finally MW gets on the board, and by a hair, Continuum loses that round.
Absolutely, a total nail-biter there. I thought that we were going to see Most Wanted actually lose that diffuse plant, but quick reactions by the Thatcher managed to solidify the round. And overall, a good clear, but a little bit more raggedy than we've seen the clears from Continuum. Like, the attack to the roamers downstairs was very slow. It was seemingly a little bit improvised. I think they're reading into the Continuum strategy and trying to utilize it for their own favor, but it was again, a little bit raggedy, and it took a lot of time. And then once the push actually came into VIP, while they had some significant man advantage, they didn't try to emphasize it too much. They played it very safe, which put them in a position of, oh darn, there's only a couple seconds left in this round. We need to plant the diffuser now. But it's lucky that they did get, again, like you said, that Echo in the very early stages of the round. If that hadn't happened, it probably would have been a Continuum defense win.
Absolutely, especially with the way that BC's been able to hold it down. Now, I want to give a lot of commendation to BC for his play. We focused a lot on Canadian NVK, but this man, at the moment, is holding this team up almost single-handedly. They are able to work around his strong plays. It's wonderful.
It's ridiculous.
I wanted to touch on, too, about Trippin, who just managed to get on the board last round with 2 very important frags. Trippin said at the end of last week's matchup against Elevate that that is the best he has ever played. He said he had the match of his life in Pro League. You've got to hope that that magic is able to be discovered again, or at least comes back.
Right.
Because if he's going cold for this series, which he was up until the last round, it's a pretty big issue.
You could argue that
he almost won it for them against Elevate last week.
Impact frags, right? You could argue that Most Wanted until that last round were entirely as a team asleep. I mean, we've only seen them just now. Other than Chala. But we've only seen them just now start to get the frags that are oh so necessary, and of course walk away with their first round win. But hopefully, the big thing is hopefully they can continue that trend on this map. Again, it's so important that they win on this first map. Chala going to take out Canadian as he pushes up the blue stairs. This very aggressive roam clear coming out from Continuum, unfortunately not working in this round as they're putting themselves into the arms of death with this hold. Most Wanted established on those stairs.
Look at how Most Wanted is playing this too. They're sitting on those cool vibe stairs. You've got a Yokai there. You also have Chala sitting inside of pool table, being able to look out onto stairs. You've got Thinking Nate just around that corner as well. And Redeemer is doing a great job of delaying the push inside as he's harassing almost every single member of CTM that's trying to establish control. And now finally we will see a Buck actually take advantage of the verticality of this map. And Thinking Nade primed and ready for NBK to push in, about to hit the final minute of round number 5.
So we've seen Bucks get aces on Coastline through the floor before. It is a thing that can happen. So will we see BC be able to emphasize his control now on these anchors from Most Wanted inside the bomb site? Last time it wasn't necessary for Continuum to do that. This time, however, they have not only been unsuccessful in clearing out the roamers, they have also lost Canadian to those roamers, and the roamers are positioned upstairs horizontally rather than downstairs vertically, which is a significant change for Most Wanted, and as you can see, it's tripping up Continuum quite a lot.
They're trying to get themselves in position as we inch towards the end of the round. You can see Young is in strong shape to be able to capitalize on anybody pushing. This is where Young has flourished so far and is doing a great job, but we still do have the Echo in play, and that's a big thing now. You don't have a smoke. We've seen Most Wanted been eschewing the smoke and going for an Echo instead. It has worked. Now Necrox is going to push in. He's going to take some damage, but you can see right there, Young is going to have some supporting fire. The C4 misses, and Diffuser should have no issue going down before Trippin gets the kill, but a little too late as NVK is able to take out Chala, and now Young is going to be able, in good position, to capitalize on Redeemer. BC from above takes out Thinking Nade, and it is a 3v2 now with CTM holding a very strong position. NVK going to push up into the Bandit of King Leo, who has his back to him, and that leaves just Trippin. And speaking of having the game of his life, he is in terrible position and sees NVK, gets a frag. That's one down right now. Gonna try to finish him off, but he still has that Blackbeard position on that window. He sees him around the corner. Young so strong, and it is 4-1. CTM 1 round away from taking Coastline from Most Wanted. What a flurry of action there, capitalizing on one big play from Necrox to get that diffuser down.
Okay, round breakdown time. Oh boy. Redeemer tripping and Thinking Nade, what the heck? 2 C4s and an Echo drone allowing Necrox to simply walk in with no disruption whatsoever and plant the diffuser behind the bomb. That is a huge no-no, and it's what ultimately cost them the round. They were so good at preserving their roam game. 5 people alive and the diffuser goes down? No, sir. No, that cannot be allowed to happen. And it's unfortunate. A good play from Necrox. More importantly, the play on the window from Young. Again, we've talked about it before, but you cannot underemphasize that. Blackbeard staying alive on that window completely cuts off the rotation between bomb sites and allowed Continuum to deny that retake through and through. But it shouldn't have been that. Again, it should not have been a potential retake. It should have simply been a 2 C4s and an Echo drone. No, we're not letting them plant. It's really disheartening to see. And now, like you said, that 4-1 in favor of Continuum. Oh boy.
I don't think a single team has taken more than 2 rounds off of Continuum thus far. I would imagine, no disrespect to the teams that have already played them, but if I'm Continuum, I'm seeing the biggest challenge that we've had so far this season in Most Wanted. Of course, they made it to the playoffs, they proved their mettle, they knocked out the 2nd place team last season and made it to the finals rather, in Elevate. This is a team in Most Wanted that should be able to bring the most challenge to Continuum. They're scrappy.
Yeah.
And they're a good team, and they're an up-and-coming team. Of course, they just made it into Pro League last season. Now they're in playoffs playing against one of the strongest teams that has a strong history as well. I'm surprised with how this is going. I'm not, because Continuum is Continuum.
Right.
But I am surprised in the sense that Most Wanted has looked like a really good team that should not be at a 4-1 disadvantage.
Well, for me, it comes back to, like you said, it's not that Continuum's Continuum. For me, it's the fact that Continuum has been stronger this season than they ever have played before. And this is, again, a team. It's the only team in North America that's won anything in terms of finals or invitationals. They won the Invitational, and they won the season prior to that, Year 1, Season 3.
If you exclude Elevate on console.
If you exclude Elevate on console. If you exclude console as a region, or as a platform.
Right.
For PC, they're the only North American team that's ever won anything.
Yes.
So there's been a lot of pressure put on their shoulders. Now, of course, they didn't qualify for LAN the last 2 seasons, but this season they've been stronger than they've ever seen. Like, even when they were playing at those finals, they didn't seem like they are, or like how they are playing this season so far. And Most Wanted, a team that, like you said, only just is entering into the Pro League. It's a big thing to ask them to compete with this squad.
Now they're going to try to flush out the Ella of NVK as he sits inside a Sunrise bar. You can see there are 3 members of Most Wanted pressuring him. You've got Chala, you've got King Leo, and now you also have Trippin, all working on one roamer. NVK is formidable, don't get me wrong, but that's a lot of bodies to toss.
He's also got Canadian to back him up from the back of this position, and they're just wasting a ton of time here. This should not be allowed to happen. Thinking Nade, though, finally going to get NVK. Canadian still going to be in the entrance. Tripp's going to find him. King Leo, meanwhile, taking out BC upstairs. Most Wanted are not working on a single front here. They're trying to establish control everywhere, and it seems like, while they know that Canadian's here, they're only placing Trippin in a position to challenge him, and he will not do that, unfortunately. Falling to Canadian's pre-fire around the corner. Another kill for Canadian onto Thinking Nade. He's got to have a great roam game here before being finally downed by Chala. Although, it's likely Chala's not aware of this. And with only 30 seconds left, he's going to have to drone. That's going to waste a ton of time here.
Young does have very little health left. Necrox is the only one who is whole at the moment for his team. And it's going to be very important. Redeemer now in just to get off Canadian. King Leo sees Necrox, and it's all up to the smoke of Young with 15 seconds. He is castled in, and they will finally start to close themselves in on Young. You can see he will do some area denial. Redeemer is going to get those toxic bags. Chala planting, or at least looking to try to get into plant. There we go, finally. And Young is somehow miraculously going to try to get Chala. Doesn't see him. He's going to get Chala. The attackers win. Most Wanted gets it at the final second as Young goes down, and Most Wanted stays alive. I don't even know what just happened.
That was way too close there for Most Wanted. They cut it on the razor's edge. It was very nearly a Young clutch, and you know if someone's going to be clutching it out, it's a Young on smoke with the ability to deny that area with using those toxic bags onto the main window of Kitchen. He almost cut off Redeemer from salvaging that round. If it weren't for Redeemer vaulting over the Kitchen at just the right moment, we would have seen it be Continuum walking away with the 5-1. Oh boy, that was close. It was too close. And again, though, it comes down to Most Wanted spending way too much time on the roam clear. Way too much time. There was an extremely successful roam from Canadian and MVK. It wasted a ton of time and killed 2 of the attackers and stalled up the whole push. And if it weren't for that, I imagine it wouldn't have been as close. But that's what happened. We need to see Most Wanted get more proficient on their roam clear in order to avoid situations like that in the future. 2, of course, they have to win 2 more rounds in a row now in order for that to happen, in order to get to overtime. Now, Most Wanted, going to be defending that master bedroom again. They have been hopefully unsuccessful here so far, and they have adapted each and every single time they've gone to this top floor. They went from initially defending downstairs with that vertical roam game to then going completely horizontal, bringing their players up and maintaining their numbers leading into the last 30 seconds of the round. But unfortunately, because they could not deny the defuse plant with all of the utility they had at hand, they still lost the last time they defended here. So, can they make the final push and actually get this defense win finally?
Yeah, Most Wanted has been much better on attack, and I think that would worry me, especially with how good CTM is looking. It's not even just that Most Wanted has been better on attack, it's that CTM on attack has looked incredible.
Vicious.
And yeah, vicious is a good word for it. I mean, the last time they were situated like this, though, Most Wanted was in very good position to get a couple key lead-off kills and then move from there. And I think they're going to try to find that yokai. You can see that they had a drone. Young was basically dispatched to follow the yokai and try to figure out exactly where to play because of how crucial it can be. Now they're going to wait, though. And you see Young is back up there on that window. They've got to also figure out a way to be able to take out Young because the man just sits there and they just let him be perched at the window without applying any pressure at all.
They've got 2 options. Find a way to kill Young early in the round or while he's on that window with possibly a run out, or utilize that utility. Again, the yokai drone and the C4, anything, you know, bring a smoke to the board, which they have not done again. Whatever you have in hand, deny the defuse plant. That's the only other choice, because challenging Young directly while repelling on that window is a fool's errand. NVK going to get the first kill this round onto Redeemer. Now he has control over those lobby stairs. That is oh so important. That's going to allow him to later flank in this round and also open up those mirror windows easily. Necrox, another kill onto Trippin. He was playing in the hallway. control is being thwarted here for Most Wanted, but they're going to get 2 kills from Chala. An excellent flank coming at the right moment, right place will take out NVK and Canadian, 2 of the most impactful players on Continuum. And now it looks like Most Wanted is going to start fighting back in this round.
This is do or die for Most Wanted. Lucky number 7 that we are on. It is an even 3v3. They still have Necrox, and Young is still up on that window, and they're going to have to do something to dislodge him. The Yokai is out of effect, and you can see that Necrox is working on getting that diffuser off. A great throw from Thinking Nate, and that's diffuser down. How do you dislodge that Blackbeard? You make him come into sight to play on the diffuser. It's going to be up to BC to try and get it, but they're going to apply some pressure onto that window. BC will creep up behind as we hit the 20-second mark on this round. He's going to have 3 defenders to try to work through. Chalalay's just around the corner, and that barbed wire is going to be the first bit of indication as BC gives himself away as he hits the body and looks around the side. Chala gets a kill. That's a big one from him. Young inside, trying to get the defuse down, but King Leo, a big kill, and we have ourselves a game. It's 4-3 for Continuum, but Most Wanted, some signs of life. And could we be going to overtime as Most Wanted now goes on attack?
So, the roam game, for the first time in this entire matchup, the roam game from Most Wanted influencing the round in an extremely meaningful way. You saw Continuum completely collapsing around the bomb site. There was no potential for anyone to leak out. It was an airtight, watertight hold and clutch on that bomb site. But they failed to clear the entire building. They didn't find Chala, who springs into the action at the right moment, gets those 2 extremely important kills on NVK and Canadian, and opened up the round for his team. And then, more importantly, arguably, the C4 from Thinking Nate actually finding its target this time, taking care of that defuse plant, didn't even need the Echo drone, and that is what mattered the most, because like you said, it forced Young off the window into the bomb site, and he had to play it without his rappel. Such a good defense there for Most Wanted, really seeing all their faults and correcting them, finally. Now, we're seeing a double bar defense.
And this, from my memory, this worked very well for Continuum last time. So expectations are that they're going to play as strongly as they did. That makes it Most Wanted's game to be able to bring the attack to them. Better coordination, being able to flush these roamers out. And it's funny because CTM has done a very good job of getting an early pick or a 2 onto Most Wanted, and then being able to abuse that to attack the site. With Most Wanted, their picks have come late, usually around the 1:40, 1:30 mark, but they've still been able to then use that as an opportunity to get onto the site. So a bit of a difference here. You have one team that's able to get early picks and then set up their attack. You see another team that is able to get a later pick, but then use that as almost a snowball effect and keep it rolling and get those really important kills. And for now, Most Wanted taking control of Hall of Fame, about to head into Circle Couch.
Circle Couch. VIP?
As it's called.
No, Circle Couch is nice. I actually initially
it's
called
VIP or lounge.
I called it Circle Couch first.
I think a lot of people have. It was more
just a circle couch.
It was just a joke.
Right. You have to walk into the room before it tells you that it's VIP.
So.
But anyway, yeah. As this round plays out, the last time Most Wanted attacked this. Oh wow, Canadian getting into a bit of a bout there with Trippin.
Look at how much health he has left.
1 HP. That's going to be very, very dangerous next time he gets into a fight. But last time Most Wanted attacked this bomb site, they were unsuccessful because they tried to clear out the roamers and they just got picked apart everywhere. Upstairs. Actually, excuse me, that's not it at all. They didn't get any roamers when they were clearing at the top floor, and then they didn't have enough time when they were pushing into the actual bomb sites, and they got torn asunder by the mirror windows and a sort of C4s and whatnot. But this time, they are going to find one of the roamers onto BC. Coordination between Trippin and Redeemer. Going to finally find him. Good job there to establish kitchen control. Now they have the flank of both of the bomb sites, which will allow them to dislodge those mirror windows. Such important control to have, and they still have a minute left to utilize it. They are being much more assertive, I think, in this attack round than we've seen them be thus far.
Canadian has been reset, as has Redeemer. So right now, they do have a very even smattering of health, except for the fact that Most Wanted has a numbers advantage. NVK is found on the stairs. He's going to take some damage.
Oh!
What a shot on a Redeemer.
Unbelievable.
And now NVK is able to even things out. First smoke is going to go down a bit early, but that's okay, because if you're CTM, you can feel confident in your defense. Still, at that same time, there will be a couple moments of this round where they do not have that denial, and it looks like they're going to use it right now. In fact, that one smoke looks like it did a great job forcing Most Wanted to pause and consider their next approach. but their timer will be the biggest enemy. We could head into overtime here, but Most Wanted is going to need to get onto site. You can see a smoke goes out, another smoke will go down, and they're going to look to get the diffuser off. Chala, oh, a good kill onto NVK, and now Canadian refrags onto Chala. King Leo takes Canadian down, and now tripping with Young. There's only one left. Are we going to see overtime between these teams? Necrox is the last one. You can see King Leo getting the diffuser down. Around the corner, Necrox will inch, but Thinking Nate says no, sir, and to overtime we go 4-4.
An extremely tense round there between Most Wanted and Continuum. You saw, while Most Wanted established that control inside of Kitchen, they did not force it. They came off of it and instead went over to the south office. Instead going for their initial strat was take control of south office, open up the bar wall, and plant the diffuser behind bar cover. Usually the problem with that is you have to deal with then pressure from the actual garden in the main lobby, but that's where they took control first. So a really good clear for Most Wanted, reading into the problems and flaws from their attack that they faced last time and correcting those. The adaptation for Most Wanted in this map overall has been honestly astounding. They came back from such a deficit. A 4-1 turned into a 4-4. Incredible turn of events for Most Wanted, and on their map pick, it was so essential as well.
This is the biggest match that Most Wanted has ever played in their careers. You know, Chala is battle-tested. I know that much with when he played with Flipside, but at the same time, this is the biggest deal for most people on this roster. This is a real opportunity, and of course, we've talked about jitters and nerves and that sort of thing. You got to think you're playing against a juggernaut that is Continuum, the reigning world champions at the last Invitational, looking to go back to LAN and then eventually looking to go to the Invitational to be able to defend their crown. And I think what they're trying to show us on that scoreboard there was not only is Chala top fragging at 9, but the rest of the team has awoken too. It's an even 5 for every single member from there on out, and that's the sort of thing that has been a boon to their team, because when they were down 3-0, Thinking Nate had 1 kill, Trippin had 0, King Leo had 0. Now they have come alive, and with that, the fortunes on the team have risen.
Yeah, and that's what's oh so necessary. You know, we've talked about it before. It's usually when a pro player is not really showing you what we need them to show us, which is, you know, coming up with those 1 or 2 frags or just 0 in some cases. That just means they have yet to awake. And like you said, Most Wanted finally waking up. But I think it more comes down to that team coordination and that understanding of the issues that they've been facing throughout each of these rounds and their level of adaptation that have allowed them, for example, to kill Canadian in the main lobby. Good clear there from Redeemer, putting it now into a 5-on-4 with NVK as well being extremely lit up on a 3-speed. That means 1 bullet is going to take out an NVK from almost any gun. It's a dangerous prospect, but he will also light up Thinking Nate as he opens up the wall towards Garden. Now, saying, all right, if I'm going to be down here on 1 HP, so will you, Thinking Nate, so will you.
They're going to look to try to close off NVK. That was a good first pickup on Canadian. Of course, a roamer, nobody on site really needs to worry. Good castle strats will block out Most Wanted for the time being. I like that Most Wanted has been really dutiful with their drone duty, too. One thing I've noticed is that almost all of their entries have had a drone escort, which is something you can see teams will forget to do or maybe not be able to take full advantage of. Most Wanted has, and because of that, they've been able to get some pretty important first and second kills.
I mean, I would say that along with the droning, it's that roam game, the 2 prongs from Most Wanted that allowed them to get into this playoffs and go up against a team such as Continuum. But now here comes the actual attack. They're going to be laying down that smoke cover, going to try and isolate the A bomb site. But again, Young with the dutiful toxic bag's going to be able to hold it off.
He throws out 2 as Redeemer gets his 2nd kill now onto Necrox. And that's 2 smoke bags that look like they're down now. And it's only going to leave 1 remote gas grenade with under a minute to go. Not a good ratio of time to toxic babes whatsoever. And you can see that King Leo deliberately used that 1 smoke grenade of his own to draw out those smokes from Necrox, or sorry, from Young, and it worked quite well. I'm surprised Necrox usually has been playing the smoke. He's on Castle this time around. Redeemer gets a 3rd kill now onto NVK, and a great round from him so far. He has all the kills. Thinking Nate taking a lot of damage. Amidst that smoke, Chala was getting it down, but you look, he'll perish as Young and BC add to that body count as Chala and Redeemer fall. A 2v3, King Leo pushes up Young, that SMG-11, able to finish off the Jackal, but a refrag as Thinking Nate gets one in from above. It's BC. It is a 1v1 with a hair of health for Thinking Nate, and you can see that diffuser going off. So Most Wanted was able to get the diffuser down. You can see that both of them severely injured. And this is going to determine who goes to match point. Does CTM go again, or does Most Wanted be able to do it? You see, Thinking Nade, a great shot, and for the first time, Most Wanted takes the lead. Into match point we go. This is what they needed on the map that they picked, and boy, what a showing we've had. That is, from my estimation, that's 5 rounds in a row now.
Not even estimation. You're absolutely right.
4 rounds
An extremely good set of rounds for Most Wanted. Very impressive.
4 rounds in a row.
4 rounds in a row.
My apologies, not 5.
The correction comes in, ladies and gentlemen. Just overall, the changes that they've been able to usher in. On that last round, it seemed like they might even have lost it, despite being so successful on that roam clear. But
11 kills.
Yeah. Wow.
Outrageous.
Jeez, BC.
Outrageous right now.
And you can see there's a much more even spread on the Most Wanted side of things. Everybody on Most Wanted really pulling their own weight. But anyway, so the changes that have been coming in from Most Wanted, their adaptations, and they're forcing out those rounds, those 4 rounds, have been honestly very admirable. Yes. Really knowing what they need to change and changing it.
They've been able to string it together, and that's huge.
On that last round, they cleared out the roamers. They didn't lose a lot doing it. Then they started their standard push that they always plan to do, which is isolating the A bomb site. Great use of the Jackal smokes to enable them to force their way into the kitchen without losing too many on the actual beachhead. But I think the big problem with that push was, again, the fact that Chala stayed inside of that gas grenade. If he had instead vaulted out the window and waited a couple seconds for just another potential chance to plant the diffuser, I feel like it would have been a lot more solid of a round. It was very close in the end because of that.
I thought Continuum was going to start to rally there, especially when they took Chala down. I was like, all right, this is going to be very difficult. And you know what made it more difficult for CTM, though? They didn't have any extra toxic babes whatsoever.
Yeah, and there was also...
used 2 of them earlier on.
They weren't watching their flank because they didn't have enough manpower to do so. They were all placing their emphasis and focus on the actual kitchen. So when I believe it was Redeemer or Thinking Nade came from behind in the bathroom. Was that did he just shoot a drone?
He just took the yokai.
Oh, he got the yokai.
The yokai, which was sitting down in kitchen, gets picked off by the Twitch. That is going to be frustrating, but we have seen he has 8 kills on this round. Redeemer has been very good at getting kills. It doesn't necessarily rely on that yokai, which actually hasn't been a huge factor.
I was about to say, we've seen a lot of echo play from both teams, and we have seen it be useful exactly 0 times so far in this map. And I have to place a little bit of blame on the fact that they're using their yokais downstairs to reinforce their roam game. Is that really the right call when so often these attacks are coming down to the last couple seconds each round? Redeemer
did use it quite well, I would say. I don't think it swung. I didn't swing the round because Redeemer ended up perishing. But you remember when Necrox had sight and then Young was positioned on the window. It was a 2v1 in favor of Continuum. Redeemer pushed in. He got some disorientation from the yokai, but wasn't able to capitalize.
Yeah. Some good attempts, but ultimately it wasn't as useful. I mean, for example, the Most Wanted Elevate match, remember that? It was just yokai, yokai, yokai. Every single round. And when we get to map number 2, I think it'll be another one of those kinds of matches. BC going to start to use his vertical control from below. NVK going to get a kill onto the roamer of Thinking Nade. Playing a little bit too in the open there, Thinking Nade, and as a result, what's 1 C4 off the board? When the final push comes from Necrox, which we're about to see, that's going to be very important. Mirror window has been opened. 50 seconds to go. Continuum in a great spot here. Young's on the window. Necrox is ready to plant that diffuser. Everything seems to be going in their favor. They don't have to worry about C4 from below, etc. Everything is where it needs to be for Continuum.
Chala is poised to strike too, if need be. And somebody that we've spent a lot of time talking about, as Necrox is going to open up bathroom now too. Trippin is essentially in a position where he has nowhere to go. So he's going to sit and wait as King Leo offsite. It looks like it will be a B take with Most Wanted lined up in A. That's going to be a problem for them to regain control of the site. Necrox is going to wade in now and go into the usual bomb site, and we're going to try to see a grenade from Trippin. BC goes down to King Leo, and another kill from Chala on NBK. The C4 gets Necrox, and now Young hold up on the window. What was CTM's favor is now fairly much for Most Wanted as Trippin and Chala add to it. Young gets King Leo, but it's all up to the team captain of Canadian with no time left. Most Wanted gives Continuum its first loss, and 1-0 Most Wanted as we move to map number 2.
And now it's 5 rounds in a row in favor of Most Wanted. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Our previous statement vindicated by Most Wanted.
Look at those black uniforms.
Putting it into that 6-4. And yeah, that's a nice little uniform you got going on there, Most Wanted. Looks good. So that 20% have got to be feeling pretty good about themselves right now. But that was Most Wanted's map. That was their pick.
Right.
Arguably, a lot of those rounds were closer when Most Wanted would win than when Continuum were winning. When Continuum were winning, it was a pretty one-sided affair. Now, moving on to the other maps that we got to expect Continuum are going to be much more comfortable on, such as their pick, Oregon. Will it be the same way? Will Most Wanted be able to put up the same fight? Or do you think that early game pressure we saw, that was three rounds in a row and then a fourth round to put it into that tricky forcing overtime spot, do you think that early aggression will work in favor of Continuum moving into this next map?
I'm not certain. The way that Continuum has played on Oregon that we've seen is very similar to the way that Rogue played, and I think that rebuffed Most Wanted exceptionally well. You know, one of the things with Most Wanted was how aggressive they were, and we found that all the teams were giving them too much room to maneuver. They got smothered by Rogue, and they're, I'm assuming, going to get smothered by Canadian. And we're going to go to highlights, but there we are. Redeemer gets the kill here onto Canadian, and there were some big plays by both teams, especially Redeemer's 3-piece, if I remember correctly. That was important for them. A great C4 from BC. We saw
almost salvaged that round.
Some amazing C4 play, and
we see some really disheartening C4 play too.
Absolutely. We saw some misses. One thing for me to notice is how powerful CTM started, especially Canadian, unable to really, I think, he wasn't able to find his footing on this match, and that is a worry for me if I'm Most Wanted, because you just won 6-4 with one of their top fraggers underperforming.
My big thing for this map was the fact that CTM stayed so static. The level of change, the change that they ushered in each of their strats was not even noticeable when compared to what Most Wanted did.
Right.
Most Wanted came off of defending that master bedroom by putting most emphasis in the kitchen, and then they just started defending that top floor. Right. We are going to jump into the second map, but we'll still keep talking about what was going on with that last one.
Yeah.
It is going to be, again, Oregon in this best of 3. This is map number 2, Continuum's pick, which is interesting given both of these teams are very comfortable on Oregon.
Yeah, and honestly, like if it wasn't for Most Wanted's performance against Rogue, I would say that this is going to potentially be a significant upset.
Yeah.
I know that CTM is so good here, but I also know that Most Wanted has looked like just a monstrous in the team. But you're talking about one of the best teams in the entire world in CTM, and it's going to be a handful no matter what.
I mean, so of the 4 maps, or I guess 5 technically, given if the last map but previously in the season, of the 4 maps that Continuum played, 2 of them were on border. One of them was on Oregon. That was against Infamy, and they were very good on Oregon against Infamy. We could just say that. Infamy also another one of those teams that likes Oregon.
Right.
Now, on the other side of the fence, we have Most Wanted. They have played Oregon. Let me see. They played Oregon 3 times. They played it now 4 times if you count this one.
Oregon
every single matchup they have been in, they have played Oregon. So you can't argue that gives them more practice, because the thing about that is that obviously both of these teams have been practicing in scrims outside of the actual Pro League. What you can argue, though, is that Continuum's going to have a better read on Most Wanted going into this map because of that more prevalent information. Now, the thing about that statement, though, is, again, as I was trying to say before we moved into this map, Continuum did not adjust the way that Most Wanted did on Coastline. The changes that Most Wanted ushered in the middle of that map were, honestly, it was night and day. I mean, obviously, they went from winning a bunch or losing a bunch of rounds to winning a bunch of rounds, but still, it was all about that strategy mix-up. And Continuum stayed the same throughout. And you saw there in that last round where it was match point in favor of Most Wanted, they did the same push that they had so many times before, and this time Most Wanted was ready for it.
I want to look at Most Wanted when we're assessing their play on Oregon. I found that they've been much better on attack than they have been on defense. Not that their defense is bad, but this is a refrain that we saw on Coastline, and something we're now seeing as well, is that they're very good at playing on attack, which is the aggressive style they have, and can get overwhelmed, and CTM, as good as they are on attack, really is able to exploit the defensive flaws of Most Wanted.
Absolutely.
And CTM now is finally getting themselves into play with about half of the time to go, and look at the cluster of Most Wanted. They're having a party in the basement of Oregon, as all 4 of them are stacked
They're
up.
celebrating, hugging it out, the fact that they just beat Continuum on Coastline just prior, with an excellent comeback at that. I mean, it's worth talking about, worth celebrating.
And it's CTM now. We're likely going to see the usual play. No Ying here to capitalize on, though, and that's going to be very interesting for me, is that this strategy almost always revolves around having the Ying I think with the setup that we have right now, it certainly looks like they were expecting to go upstairs rather than go into the basement.
Yeah, it does seem that way. We have seen a lot of mix-ups with teams preferring to go top floor or bottom floor to try and mix up that operator selection. So Most Wanted at some point in this season probably got a whiff of the fact that Continuum expects the top floor first, or at least from them, and we're like, we'll go basement then. That's fine. You can see here Most Wanted executing a very anchor-heavy strategy. No roamers whatsoever, not a single thought put into that roam game. And despite that fact, how much time do we have left in this round?
30 seconds. And the final moments of round number 1 about to play out with all 10 operators still alive. Now, I would usually say this is going to be a massacre, but there are no smokes. Redeemer still has the yokai up. Young is just going to walk right in, and they're going to get the plant up, but nobody from Most Wanted even seems to know. A C4 is going to miss. The diffuser goes down. The first kill goes to BC as he picks off the LF Chala. Gets a second now on a Redeemer. Young hiding in a tight corner. What was he doing? His Trippin takes him down, but NBK gets the refrag. And CTM coming out strong. BC gets his third, and NBK is going to get picked off from Thinking Nate, but still a 1v3. Canadian Necrox, NBC, Necrox gets the final frag, and Most Wanted just asleep at the wheel as CTM takes advantage of it.
You guys can't see it, but I am absolutely slack-jaw at that round. Most Wanted had it. Everything going in their favor. Like you said, though, they fell asleep at the wheel. They just could not utilize their utility in any meaningful way. They simply allowed Continuum to walk in and plant the diffuser. There was nothing in place to stop it. Where was the yokai? Where was the C4? It hit a shelf. That's not a good enough argument. You need more in position to stop that diffuse plant if your entire focus is going to be 5 downstairs on a hard anchor. You have to utilize that anchor game has to come into the round. It has to be prevalent in some fashion. Oh, that is disheartening to see. 30 seconds, all they had to hold out, and they couldn't do it.
BC continuing his fine play, gets 3 in round number 1 to go with the 11 that he had on Coastline. The man is having a great day so far, and now Continuum looks to be in good shape. I mean, this was exactly how Coastline started off though too, and I would be more worried if Most Wanted had taken round number 1, given the fact that this was CTM's map. This is the one that they are supposed to win.
So, but let's talk about that round, that last round. Apart from the last couple seconds, what did we see there? We saw Most Wanted, all 5 downstairs. Why was that? Well, it's because Continuum, again, has read into the fact that Most Wanted's roam game previously, throughout all of their matches, has been one of their leading causes of success. And you saw, despite any real roam game from Most Wanted in that last round, Continuum spent 2 minutes and 30 seconds clearing out the roam game and establishing dominance. They did not slack in any region. And that was what was supposed to give Most Wanted the advantage in that round. That air of caution for Continuum and complete disregard for the roam game for Most Wanted. But, because again, they couldn't do their anchor game, that's what cost them the round. But straying away from that, it was a well-played round for Most Wanted, a good read. It just fell into nothingness.
And it was King George himself when we interviewed him that said that the reason why Most Wanted is winning a lot of these games is their roam game. If you can log it down and be able to exploit it, which CTM did fantastically. First 3 rounds on Coastline, the whole rest of their defense begins to fall apart, which happens with a lot of teams, but it's especially prevalent on a team such as Most Wanted that puts a lot of stock and faith into how their roamers work in tandem with one another and to get early picks, because as we've said it many, many times, the primary goal of a roamer is to waste time, but if you can get a kill or 2, that's fantastic. Most Wanted seems to be one of those teams. I would put them up there with Elevate as well, alongside Rogue, that this season have been really, really, really well equipped to get kills.
Yeah, and I'd say that that's what made the Elevate Most Wanted matches so enthralling, was basically that roam game. And here you can see Continuum's roam game being put to good use, taking out King Leo inside a classroom. Nice angle there from NVK.
That's the Thatcher down too.
Yeah.
Not detrimental, though. Bringing a Ying and bringing Habana, I'm assuming that with the way we have it right now, it looked like they were prepared to go basement. So, I mean, I could be wrong, but the team composition suggests that in the first 2 rounds, both teams guessed it wrong as to where their opponents would go.
It does seem that way, yeah. They're on a different wavelength, as you can tell. But Most Wanted are unfortunately the ones at the deficit. Fortunately for them, at the deficit in this round. They are going to be looking to jump over a lot of hurdles as they start with the first one. MVK not getting taken out by Trippin's line of sight into the kitchen, and that's just going to be more time off the board for this attack as MVK just falls further and further back. There's no emphasis put on that west side of the building from the attackers, and that's allowing Continuum to continually fall back over and over again, and it will stall out this round even more as we tick down to 25 seconds.
Trippin let NVK go. Redeemer gets a kill on a Necrox. He's been really good with Ying's LMG, and it shows. He's going to see BC, goes for one, can't get him. BC escapes with just a scratch as Trippin is able to pick off Canadian and put us in a 3v3. NVK and Trippin will battle inside of the kitchen, and NVK gets away with more health, but they both escape with their lives still intact. Some explosions going off as Young and BC get Thinking Nade and Chala, and it's just what's left of Trippin to do battle, but 0 seconds. Can't even secure a final kill on the last 3 members of CTM. Yep. Time runs out, and CTM up 2-0.
So we're seeing reverberations of the last map kind of trickle into this one with that early lead going in favor of Continuum. Now again, the big question that I asked at the end of the first one was basically, will Most Wanted be able to get themselves out of this early game pressure? Will they be able to adapt to the Continuum strategies which have maintained themselves as static throughout this whole map, or match actually, through both maps? Or will the adaptation come too late as CTM is much more proficient at Oregon than they were at Coastline, obviously.
I'm going to look at this as being CTM right now. Their preparation is great. BC's at 16 kills in 2 rounds in the previous matchup. The man is going off, to say the least. And
BC's having a good one.
It's a good thing that he's fragging as well as he is right now for their team, especially with how close it's been. For me, the focus on Oregon right now has been Trippin missed a couple shots, which were very important for the enemies.
He was aiming for the torso.
He doesn't really miss those, and we saw that. We saw it against Rogue, even though they didn't win. We saw it against Elevate on 2 separate occasions. Trippin usually wins those. He doesn't let them escape, and he did so on NVK. And I mean, not that I think taking NVK out of the fight would have been a complete blow to CTM, but I think it would have allowed Most Wanted to have a bit more leeway on that main floor with only Canadian lurking above, and then put pressure on the defense in sight.
I think from the personal and the man advantage, of course, perspective, it could have been really influential if they had gotten NVK down there early. But the thing for me is on that last round, even if they had, I've talked about this a lot in the past, when you have 2 defenders, especially if they have mirror windows to aid them, defending the top floor from a master armory push, which is what the Most Wanted was putting forth there. And they're at the top of White Stairs and in Big Kids dorms. Those 2 angles alone, especially if there's a rotation between Big Kids and B, can allow you to very easily 2v5 around. So even if they had gotten MVK, you have to question the outcome.
Right.
But it would have given them some sort of morale boost. I think, and this is weird, but Trippin, again, he was aiming at torso level. I've not seen him do that very often. He usually goes for the headshot. He's been sort of the precise, shooter. I think it might be a little bit of nerves getting to him there in that situation. He had a long angle to play on a player like NVK, notorious for being an excellent shot, and maybe it got to him a little bit. Maybe he's like, all right, maybe I can't climb this mountain.
Look at Most Wanted, too. They are potentially 5 rounds, if they were to win them all out, from going to land. For a team that has never done that, your hands have got to be shaken at this point. Like, nerves are setting in, and I think that's one thing that's really gonna help CTM is that they've been there before. They know what it takes.
And another thing on that note, going to land, Most Wanted never done it. Continuum missed the last 2 lands. So we haven't talked a lot about this, but them missing the last 2 lands was a big upset for a lot of people in the community. In fact, themselves. And they did lose the first map. Now, while they're slotted to win these next 2, given that they are probably, they're obviously the maps that Continuum's going to be most proficient at throughout this entire Pro League, throughout the last couple seasons, they love working border. But that's still a huge thing. They're down a map. If they lose out here, if Most want to get these next 5 rounds, then they don't go to land for the 3rd season in a row.
Right.
And that would be a riot in the streets for a lot of people.
And what happens to their roster too? That's the big thing. This is their perfect roster.
I mean, they're all friends. They Continuum originally came together because they're a group of friends that love playing with each other. I don't think that these guys are ever going to really split ways.
We'd see if the North American shuffle would kick in, but
yeah.
We can spend time on that, or we can assess that once again, final 30 seconds, and all 10 operators are still up and alive. BC gets a kill with a nicely tossed frag onto Chala.
That's a hard shot to hit.
And now you can see CTM is just going to get in. They're not going to try to miss it this time. Canadian, a good job pushing out. He gets Trippin. That's the Nitro cell down, and Young is going to have no contest as Continuum just walks right into sight. Thinking Nate is able to pick off Young as NVK does essential trade with King Leo. You can see the Yokai still up too. but they have their work cut out from the 4v2. BC, a great shot from Thinking Nade.
There you go.
And Continuum in good position. He's going to chase them off of the stairs, and NVK watching from above as Thinking Nade now gets around and goes to go for the defuse, but he gets up, rushes, get pushed out by Canadian, and it's all up to Redeemer now as he gets torn apart by Necrox. If Thinking Nade had have just simply gone for the defuse and forced Canadian or NVK to move and Redeemer do clean up, I think that would have worked a lot better for them instead of what happened. But Continuum, awesome job. They're up 3-0, the same as they were on Coastline.
Okay. That C4 from the Mira obviously wouldn't have been detonated given that Canadian would have gotten that kill regardless of if it had passed the shelving unit. But now that's the second defense in a row of the basement from Most Wanted, where that C4, which is seemingly the linchpin of their defense, has been caught by the shelving unit and denied any use whatsoever. And more important to me, Redeemer's Echo drone, the Yokai, seeing no use at all, just kind of lingering in the back end, not able to deny that defuse plant. What is going on with the utility from Most Wanted?
I mean, it's interesting to me because so much of that strategy usually revolves around some form of smoke and or some form of Ying play. I think Continuum is actually doing...
They're just doing it dry.
They're doing a superb job of not using the operators that every other team has been utilizing so well.
Yeah.
But the issue is that I wonder if they're trying to force Most Wanted into putting Redeemer on smoke, in which case I would argue that his proficiency is not as strong as it is on Echo.
But he's not doing anything with the Echo drone, the Yokai. That's the big problem for me.
Which is why he could then potentially, or have his team potentially say, switch to smoke, in which case it goes into CTM's hands, and that's the sort of preparation that a good team like Continuum has in mind as
You know what? A big question for me, we're seeing Most Wanted again completely just allow Continuum to simply waltz into the bomb site and plant that diffuser. Do you think that's because they're not being prompted by what they expect, which is Candelas and smokes being laid out to cover visual ground, and that is what would prompt them to go for those Echo drones and those C4s? Or what is it? What do you think is causing Most Wanted to just overlook the defense of, well, the default plant spot?
I think it's just the pressure of CTM. You've had one person stationed at that Mira every single time, and what you've seen is that NVK is guarding the hatch above, and then Canadian is at the bottom of the stairs, and while Young is getting the plant off. I mean, in that case, you can push out and try to stop the diffuser, but the issue with that is you've got two people that are going to be looking to take advantage of you rotating outwards and picking you off.
Yeah, it's just two lanes, like I said. So put very simple sights on those two lanes. You wait patiently, and it's all over. And with a 5-5, because Most Wanted again has been completely neglecting their roam game. Because of that, they don't have any external force to. Whoa! What a shot from NVK, all the way onto Trippin at the deep end of the kitchen. But Thinking Nade with reciprocation onto NVK will put it into a 4-on-4. That is oh so important. Just barely missed out on that second kill also onto Young.
And Young is now going to scamper towards the bottom of stairs by rear stage. And it looks like he's going to go back onto site and lick his wounds as he's at half of his HP. And Redeemer, as well as Thinking Nade, just both missing an opportunity to capitalize on that castle moving from the top of the tower. And now Most Wanted, even fair. You've gotten NVK off the board, but it's still a strong site play. One smoke is going to go off. That's an early smoke, and that's something that we've seen Continuum not really need to take full advantage of, is how early these are. A good C4 is going to take some of King Leo's health as Necrox finishes off what was left of him, and from above, Redeemer tries to lay some suppressing fire, but cannot do it. Now, Most Wanted is basically making this push happen with BC still firmly entrenched inside of Meeting Hall. And that's going to be difficult for them. Of course, there's a castle barricade there. At some point, BC is going to have to escape, likely using that rotation hole inside a kitchen, as they are still working diligently to drone out everybody else. We could even get to a point now where if Most Wanted is quick enough, BC could end up being a non-factor because of his positioning, but you hit the final 20 seconds. Smokes go off, Chala gets hit by a destructible. You can see the Candelas going down. Redeemer does a great job with those. CTM is going to try to make Chala stop, but can't do it. The smoke goes down. You can see BC's got on sight. Canadian comes around the corner. Look at that magazine on Redeemer. He gets 2. He's going to go for 3. Thinking Nade is able to get Young, and it's just BC left. You can see he's going to get some fire through that hatch from below. Can the Mira clutch this out? Have to get towards that diffuser. The big question is what's going to happen with Thinking Nade and Redeemer lording over top. BC pushes up to white stairs, and you can see this is something that Most Wanted's done before. I'm glad that they're still doing it now. Work. BC starts to work away. What are you doing, thinking Nade? Finally connects. And Most Wanted gets on the board. The exact same scoreline as we see on Coastline, repeating itself on Oregon.
Now, this is dangerous for Continuum. They are entering into uncharted territory. Again, that first map that Most Wanted took on the Coastline was the very first map that Continuum has lost this season. They have been absolutely dominant.
Flawless.
Completely flawless throughout this season. And now, at the map deficit, we need to re-emphasize, just for those of you who are unaware, the importance of this matchup. This is the deciding match if you go to LAN or not for this season. If Continuum lose here, if Most Wanted are able to replicate the scoreline from the last map, which they are looking pretty good to do, then Continuum for the third season in a row will not go to LAN. And Most Wanted for the first time ever will. And that is a huge upset, I think, for a lot of people. The reason I'd say that Most Wanted is looking good to win this map is because all I saw from that last round was Continuum making Most Wanted on attack run in circles. They had them in the palm of their hand, and Most Wanted somehow managed to snatch it away as Continuum tried to force out with that strategy of, again, like you were talking about, what are you doing if you want to try and stop the defuse plant without the use of your utility? You force your bodies into it, and that 80-round magazine on Redeemer's Ying is all it needed to stop. I mean, there wasn't even somebody watching from the drop-down. I mean, it was a really good hold there for Most Wanted, and specifically Redeemer.
It's almost comical because we are not accustomed to hearing that much gunfire in this game, and it's just the slow for 80 rounds. It's like once he starts, the man can't stop, and now we have a very close game. I wanted to touch upon this scoreline though, because what we saw in Coastline was the first 3 rounds. I don't think there was any doubt whatsoever. Those were Continuum dominating. The same thing here now. The 3 rounds that Continuum have been just start to finish almost near perfection of their strategies. Well executed. They did a great job hunting down their own game. They did a great job on roam game themselves. And that's the first round that we just saw on round number 4. That's the first one that I've actually seen where I'm like, Most Wanted is actually playing well on Oregon, in my opinion. They are present.
Yeah.
And that was a round that they deserved to win, and when they did. Now the same thing has to be asked of what took place on Coastline. Continuum dominated those rounds. They won it. They played so well, but then Most Wanted was able to figure it out. Are we going to see the same thing here? And that's a question that will be asked over the next round or 2.
Again, it comes back to the adaptation, the changes that Most Wanted have been able to implement in their strategy, and the lack thereof with Continuum. But half the round has progressed so far here in round number 5. Continuum is trying to go for a North Windows attack onto Big Kid Storms. They have already established control over tower, which is the first step of this attack, so you don't get flanked from the outside. But now they have to dislodge anyone who's actually playing inside of Big Kids, and more importantly, deal with that downstairs control, which I think they are actually not going to have anything on right now. It seems like the downstairs control is going to be well within Most Wanted's sights. Redeemer going to get the first kill of the round of Canadian. Another kill from Young onto Redeemer through the wall. Good droning there from Continuum to allow that. But unfortunately, losing Canadian first, that's not going to be much of an advantage.
And that's the smoke off, too, which is, I would say Redeemer is better on Echo, but I mean, you've still lost the smoke. At least one Toxic Babe came out. But yes, it's the gadget that is most important. And the fragging potential, too. The SMG-11 is one of the highest DPS weapons in the entire game if you can control it. NBK is going to be able to take off King Leo on a very good flick onto him as the Bandit moves out of Cafeteria. They've still got Trippin downstairs. It looks like NBK is the lone man dealing with it. But there's no real sight presence right now. Chala is going to get caught in the crossfire of both Young and BC as NBK capitalizes onto Trippin, and Thinking Nate is in really bad shape. Young, a huge kill to finish the round, and to match point we go as CTM, the exact same scoreline as last time as well, but looking real sharp to try and take us to border for map number 3.
So we need 3 rounds in a row from Most Wanted here in order to put it into overtime again. I don't see that as possible on a map like Oregon. It made sense on Coastline given that that was Most Wanted's pick, but on Oregon, I honestly don't think it's going to happen, especially given Continuum still seems to have a lot of tricks up their sleeves here. They kind of ran out of new things to show us on Coastline, but on Oregon, we've seen a lot of really interesting things, like a couple of the uses of the mirror window, like for example on BC, inside that meeting hall. That, of course, being the only round they've lost, but still, The new stuff that Continuum, well, not necessarily new. The little, things on the side, the extra little oomph to give them the rounds that they've been winning here have been much more inclined, I think, towards Continuum.
They've looked fearsome.
Yeah.
And touching on what you said and just agreeing, once again, you go to border, I'm very worried if I'm most wanted going to border. And, as much as we said that we think Coastline is going to determine the results of this match, what really should have been said is that if most wanted loses Coastline, it's probably over.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say is, like, they had to win
It's a must-win.
Because the truth of it is, on that ban phase, Most Wanted they sacrificed 2 spots to solidify their 1 in the ban phase. They needed Coastline. If they hadn't gotten it, it would have been all over for them. They were betting on Coastline, and they got what they needed. But they sacrificed Oregon and Border making it in. Again, 2 of Continuum's favorite maps. It is just a huge risk. And they did ban a lot of maps that Continuum like as well. I mean, they didn't really have a lot of options in this case. Continuum is proficient on a lot of maps. But I think it was a good call. It worked out for them. But they're going to have to get really lucky to win on either Oregon or Border.
You see Trippin spots Canadian. He got a couple shots on him, and he pushes back. And NVK roaming and meeting is good position to take advantage of a rush-in from Most Wanted into Garage. And NVK is going to move. You see those 3 speeds being put to very good use, being able to zoom around the map. Full speed. They've taken advantage of Master. They do have control of it. It looked like they were going to make a push into Closet, but opt against it.
Now, we were seeing a Master Armory take again from Most Wanted, and again from Most Wanted, they have not been able to clear out the roamers or get themselves any kills in this round. They're going to fall into that crossfire trap that I talked about before, which is the top of White Stairs and Big Kids. That's going to be between Necrox on the Smoke and Young on the Ella. All they have to do is wait, and it's so easy for those 2 players alone to hold up this attack.
A smoke goes off for them upstairs for Continuum, and yes, I gotta say that if we're going down to the final 20 seconds and there's a lot still left as the C4 gets hucked from Pulse just outside of those meeting halls and classroom wall, Trippin is now going to work to try to dislodge NVK too, and you can see the Canadian on that heartbeat sensor. First kill goes to Chala. He's going to pick off the Ella of Young, and he can't even see NVK. Of course, some smoke going off. Necrox is able to get Chala. So essentially a glorified trade. Trippin once again misses his shot. He can't be doing that in order to not get those kills. As Canadian is going to immediately get Redeemer, and you can see that miss from Trippin is very crucial. Now King Leo gets a kill on the Canadian though. That's a 3v3 with 30 seconds left in round number 6. Thinking Nate is going to have to hop inside at some point. King Leo picks off Necrox. So it's NVK versus a shred of life for BC. You can see here Trippin trying to get NVK, can't do it. The Jaeger wins that fight, but Diffuse is going down on King Leo's side. C4 goes off, nothing. BC picks around the corner. This is Thinking Nade's round right now, and it's just NVK as King Leo jumps in, and 4-2. Playing out exactly the same in every single way. We practiced this.
We tried.
We rehearsed this. Come on.
We didn't actually. But every single round has been the same, and in every single way, they have been reflective of Coastline, like you were trying to say.
Yeah, but like once again, I'm gonna say the exact same thing. Most Wanted are going to defense, and they are not as good on defense as they are on attack. And that's what I said last time with Coastline, and they proved me wrong, and then they went to attack and were able to tie it up. I think with CTM here, the way that CTM has been playing on attack, they just looked unstoppable, and we're going to go to the same site. Most Wanted is not successfully defended.
They're going downstairs again?
They're going to go downstairs again.
No! Oh, oof.
The only difference is they're going to run a Bandit of King Leo instead of a Jaeger. Everything else looks exactly the same.
Do you really think that that's going to be the turning point, though? Do you think that's going to be what changes this round? I mean,
I don't look at it and think, oh yeah, the Jaeger was the issue. No,
I don't think either.
The issue is their inability to stop the plant.
Yeah, it was the lack of the usage of their the utility. They had an abundance of utility. They were ready to stop the diffuse plant, and then they just didn't. There was no one putting emphasis on it. And again, since they're not using a roam game in any way whatsoever, they have to stop the diffuse plant when it comes through, especially if there's nothing to stop you from doing. Just use your Echo Drone, Put it inside of Laundry, wait for the push, and stop it.
The most confusing part to me is that the Echo drone has still been alive at the time of the
time.
plan, every time. And it's you have to question what are they doing with it?
Are they trying to hold construction tunnel?
Which is a push that doesn't happen.
It never happens. Yeah, I mean it's a big question mark here for Most Wanted. Honestly, the reason that just straying away from the reflective score lines of this and the other map. The reason that Most Wanted have been struggling on this map, and the reason it's 4-2, is entirely due to their basement hold being so hopefully unsuccessful. It's been extremely dominant in favor of Continuum, even in a lot of situations where it shouldn't be. Like, for example, 30 seconds left on the clock, and now the push is coming from Continuum.
Right. And
the one difference here is the roam game. As you can see, we have a roam game now for Most Wanted. I'm sorry, what were you trying to say?
I was just going to say that most of the attacking teams have no problem getting the bottom floor of Oregon. We've actually seen most teams start to favor the upstairs and only going basement when absolutely necessary because of the fact that the defense is so much harder on the basement. You see what a shot as King Leo peeks around the corner in BC with that 5.52 commando of IQ. Good accuracy and able to get the leadoff frag, and that's important for the team now as they are hoping to actually have match point be meaningful and win on Oregon.
Okay, you're King Leo, you're roaming inside kitchen, you know you have somebody to back you up from pantry behind a mirror window. Do you need to peek around that angle?
No.
No. No, you do not. And because he did, now that man advantage slipping away even more as Canadian gets another kill onto Thinking Nade on his roam at the meeting hall. So this changed from Most Wanted shooting from let's not roam at all to let's put a lot of emphasis on the roam game. Isn't working out so far, but as Trippin pushes up the main lobby stairs, he will take NVK down with him. C4 is going to miss, but he's on 1 HP, and the nade is certainly going to kill him as he goes down. At least down him, at least. And he will be finished off by Necrox peeking around the corner.
The Yokai drone off-site coming in through kitchen. You've essentially got it flanking.
Why?
My assumption would be that they're anticipating using it in the dying seconds of the round to prevent the plant from going off, but I am equally perplexed by this, and it's going to force Chala to have to essentially carry the load and take out 4 attackers. You can see Redeemer's going to watching the mirror window, whereas the side of it in the closet of basement. So when they dropped, they put their focus on that area, hoping to not just get Redeemer, but if Chala was in there, get the other. I don't think they anticipated him being that hallway, and you saw he just rushed out and got 2 huge kills, not just on the drop of BC, but also on the planter in Young, and that was it. It didn't take much as Necrox tried to push in. And a big up to Redeemer as well, wasting all that time with the Yokai.
He had Canadian over at the last, like in cafeteria.
in the final 20 seconds, then was able to bring him back, and by the time Canadian was coming back to push, it was too late, and now CTM in a position, shades of Coastline. It is 4-3.
Same exact
CTM,
scores.
the scoreline has been identical so far. Are we going to see the levy finally break, and CTM is going to close it out, or to overtime we go again? If I was Continuum and I face overtime, I'd be pretty upset.
I, right now, have a feeling of breathlessness with the thought of this Continuum lineup that they have said has been their favorite roster ever. Dream roster. Not making it to the LAN for the 3rd season in a row. And as NVK gets the leadoff frag of this round onto Redeemer, it might not happen that they get that overtime on this map number 2. But there's still a 3rd map. Canadian, another kill onto King Leo. It's looking like we might have a lockout here for Continuum in a map number 3. As MVK gets his 2nd kill onto Trippin. 2v5 now for Most Wanted, but they've still got to feel good about pushing Continuum this far. On Oregon, forget about it.
It looks like the magic for Most Wanted might finally run out, but
yeah.
You've got both Thinking Nate and Chala who have played extremely well today. They're not been called into question whatsoever.
No.
Especially Thinking Nate right now, how well he has done here. Now, keep in mind too, that for Border on, a nice ADS there as Thinking Nate's nade gets eaten.
See how useful Jaeger is?
Wow, NVK gets kill number 3 on a dastardly run out onto Thinking Nate. And now Chala torn apart, Necrox gets the kill. And that's it for Most Wanted as CTM evens things up. 1-1. Border next up for the tiebreaker. And a much better performance from Continuum that round than we'd seen over the previous 3.
So, we talked about how CTM likes CTM likes Oregon and how it's going to be definitely a stretch for even Most Wanted, who also likes Oregon, to win on that 2nd map. We're going on to Border now. Oh my gosh, our Continuum so good at Border. Okay, so I think that was it for Most Wanted. That was their chance, really.
You think so?
When it really comes down to it. I think Most Wanted, I've seen them play Border in the past. They have some really interesting strategies there. And I think that they're going to put up a fight, but Oregon was definitely their map over Border, I think, so far from this map. Let's take a look at the highlights from Oregon.
The big thing with me is that we saw how well Most Wanted played against Elevate on Border too. I mean, it was Elevate's map choice too, and Most Wanted was able to muscle it out. I agree with you. I strongly agree with you that this should be an easy closeout for CTM.
Yeah.
They should be able to win this. Now, there's a couple wild cards, but you can see that NVK and Canadian played a lot better on Oregon than they did on Coastline. Could just be a familiarity with the map, in which case, how well did we see NVK and Canadian play last week or 2 weeks ago on Border? It was outlandish how well they did, and I have no doubt that we're going to see that emerge this time around in map number 3 on the tiebreaker, and of course, a real nail-biter. But major kudos so far to Most Wanted for how well they have played. They've been able to do something that no team has been able to do this season, which is win one map on a Continuum. I keep trying to call them Canadian.
It's forgivable. I think I've done it before a couple times.
It's happened.
Yeah.
And on top of that, be able to push them to 3 rounds, where the outcome, I think, heading into that penultimate 8th round was anything but certain. I think it really could have gone either way, and I would not have been surprised at all if we had have seen overtime just now. But of course, CTM closing it out into Border we go, and I'm assuming a big performance from NVK is something we're going to witness.
I mean, we just saw it on that last round. I
Right.
mean, it mostly come down to that round stalling out as it has many times before, the attack coming from the Armory Master.
Right.
And NVK just getting way more aggressive than he has in the past, throwing a curveball, working out great for him and his team, is push it out of the possibility of our time, put it onto that 3rd map. And yeah, I think that this is going to be Continuum, but it's such a big thing, really. Like, we can't emphasize enough the fact that that 3rd map costs one of these teams the ability to go to LAN and affords it to the other. It's so scary. Now, Most Wanted's got to be coming in this matchup not expecting to win. We have to be honest. They are not expecting to beat Continuum, but they have put it now into a spot where they very possibly could. And like you were talking about, the word you used earlier, will the Most Wanted magic run out? It did on that map, but they have just magically won a bunch of these rounds just out of nowhere. seemingly for no apparent reason, not due to strategy, just, well, no, obviously due to strategy, but more just, honestly, the right person in the right place, whether it be Redeemer, Chala, thinking. It's been a couple of different people throughout, and I think we're going to see more of that on Border. It will definitely be a close map. That's my opinion.
I think it's going to be close as well. And for me, the big things to look at on Border is how well the rest of the team pulls their weight. You've seen that on Coastline, Chala did exceptionally well, but the rest of the team was able to round it out quite successfully. On the second matchup that we just saw on Oregon, we saw that Thinking Nade was the star of that round for their team. When you're dealing with CTM, who have 5 players that are all capable of stealing a game, the issue with Most Wanted is that if your top player goes down, you're in a lot of trouble. We saw how many times Canadian would go down, NVK would go down, BC would go down, Young would go down, but the other 4 can carry that weight. The issue with certain teams is that if your best player of that round, that game, that matchup, etc., perishes early, it calls into question the rest of your strategy. And that's something that's nerve-wracking to have to play around, because if you don't have the utmost confidence in the rest of the remaining teammates you have to shoulder their weight, then things start to fall apart. You play sloppy, you make mistakes, you try to overcompensate, and I think that's something that Most Wanted needs to figure out heading into Border. It might be a little too late, but...
And on that note as well, I mean, sometimes you have one person just step up.
Right.
And that last, again, the last round we just saw, that was MVK. He just stood up and he was like, yeah, I'm going to run out and get a bunch of kills.
That final round in particular, MVK was...
What are you going to do to stop that? I mean, you got to have somebody in a position to watch every single run out. No, I mean, that's something that you would say is typically kind of standard, but MVK is one of those kinds of players who's just really good at reading what's being watched and what isn't. Now, we are just waiting for everybody to be ready in this match before we get onto that third map. Again, got to be that Border. And do you think, this is my big question, is will Most Wanted try to mix things up and bring us to the weird bomb sites? That's the big, it's a worry for me as much as it is an interest, because we've seen so many times in the past teams who are arguably the ones who are going to have the pressure on them, given they're considered less proficient at a certain map like Border, go on to the estranged bomb sites such as Tellers early in the match to try and establish some semblance of dominance when they don't have any going in. And it has bit them in the butt many times.
I think if history is any lesson whatsoever to Most Wanted, the answer would be no. Look at Elevate. They look to be able to put Border away against Elevate. They went Tellers, they lost, and I would argue that that gave Elevate enough breathing room to be able to regain their breath and come back, and they stormed back and brought it into overtime. So we're just loading in now, though, and Border is about to begin for your viewing pleasure. This is map number 3 between CTM and MW. Continuum was able to win on Oregon to tie things up 1 apiece, and let's take a look at how Border is going to go down on our tiebreaker here. Winner of this match goes to LAN in Brazil, and that is it for the Group A playoffs. And then next up would be Group B playoffs with Rogue and Infamy.
And you got to remember, too, only 2 spots coming out of North America, so it's make it or break it in this first bracket of the playoffs. There is no loser bracket decides to go who of those 2 go to LAN as the third. It is just, this is it. Ventilation going to be the first defense from Most Wanted, so not much of a mix-up. Just a secondary bomb site first to try and, you know, mess with that operator selection. We saw it work on Oregon for both teams, actually. They went to the bomb sites neither was expecting, and as a result, the operator selection was a little... say what they were expecting. But here on Ventilation, I don't know if it's going to play that much of a difference. There is no Thermite on Continuum, which means if Most Wanted were to reinforce the bathroom fully, it would bottleneck the CTM attack a lot. However, they have chosen not to do that, instead opening up a rotation hole and putting a castle barricade on that bathroom door to try and hold it with that 90-degree angle from the shower.
And this is one of the few maps that I think Most Wanted excels at on defense, too. And that's one thing that that's one thing that has come up a number of times, is whether these teams are better on attack or better on defense. For Most Wanted, I would say that they are much better on defense on Border. And we are going to see right away by putting that to the test.
So there's a lot of potential for Most Wanted scrappiness. Again, we talked about this to put them in the advantage. And as you can see here, this is a good read for Most Wanted. They're also really good at, well, reading situations like this. They have put 2 reinforcements on the stockroom wall because they know Canadian every time on border when he's attacking ventilation, puts himself in storage, or stock, or whatever you want to call it, and opens up the long angle from that wall that has been reinforced now into the bomb site, which means that CTM has two choices. They can use some of their very little hard destruction, one of the Hibana charges, to open up that same angle, or simply not utilize it. And in this instance, it looks like they're going to go for the latter, which is going to hinder their attack significantly, I think. Moving into this round will afford Most Wanted a lot of maneuverability. No, actually, I stand corrected. They have, in fact, opened up the wall while we weren't paying attention. And they're still going to be able to use that angle, but only 2 Hibanas, that means.
You see Canadian took some damage there through the wall as well as he was rotating back out and away from Armory, which is where Thinking Nade is currently laid out. And CTM has done a good job of establishing control at the moment, at least, of the waiting room and lobby area. But now they're going to try to pressure Thinking Nade, and you can see that Young's going to take some damage. They're finally going to be able to capitalize on it. The Blackbeard rushes, or not even rushes in, he just bull rushes in rather, and Thinking Nade is now off the board. That's the castle down, and another now is Canadian. The chief number cruncher for CTM is able to get the 2-3-4 of Trippin.
Yeah, he will successfully crunch those numbers. Very impressive. There's still a lot of time for Continuum to play out this round and execute their attack, and they also have that also significant man advantage as well as control advantage. They have not taken control of the top floor, but what is that really going to afford Most Wanted? The main goal of the top floor control in the roamers on this defense is to delay and maybe possibly get a couple frags. It's not going to help them a lot. Ooh, Canadian with an excellent play there is actually going to get read by Redeemer. The aggression from Redeemer, very unexpected, pushing out into the main doorway. Who does that? And it will work out in favor of Most Wanted.
Impeccable play by Canadian, only beaten by a better read of Redeemer.
Yes.
And now Chala's going to get Young as BC picks off what was left of the echo of Redeemer. And King Leo's going to get MVK, looks for BC. He can't stack him up, but they do. Necrox takes down King Leo. And now CTM going to have to try to take the site. Chalice still from above. He'll be the wild card, and it's a 2v1. He's going to have to use those holes that have been opened up as they start to get the diffuser down. Does Chalice see Necrox? No, not at the moment. He's going to toss one of those mines down as BC surveys from above, and now Chala drops. He sees the buck, can't get a shot off. Necrox around the corner, and BC finishes him off, and CTM only 4 rounds from going to land.
A lot of mistakes, unfortunately, made by Most Wanted on that round. Most of them, though, were unavoidable to the degree of the problems were things they could not have known were problems. For example, the lack of a thermite there from Most Wanted, or excuse me, from Continuum, could have easily cost them that round. Unfortunately, the bathroom wall was opened up, especially given the Hibanas had to be used elsewhere. So it could have been a complete stall out, but it just wasn't because of that impact on the bathroom wall. They could not have known that they had avoided any potential of a thermite, but it's unfortunate that they didn't get lucky in that instance for them at least. Other than that, they had that vertical control with the roamers upstairs inside of the armory. Continuum placed no importance on them, and as a result, they got ignored. Only 1 kill coming from those roamers upstairs. That was, I believe, Chala's kill.
Chala did get it.
Yeah. So, overall, the setup for Most Wanted ended up working against them. While it was a very standardized and well-thought-out setup, it just played perfectly into Continuum's hands despite the disadvantage that Continuum had going into that round.
Yeah, and that was the real test for me, was how well is their defense going to be able to kind of pass muster against a team that is very aggressive on attack, that is able to pick apart the weaknesses and the inadequacies that you have of your setup. In this case, no, Most Wanted was not successful, but a refrain that has happened a number of times, and the fact that Continuum has gone up 3-0 in every single game so far, and I wouldn't be surprised now if we're able to see them at least get another now too. Well, that's a great camp there from NVK. We've seen a couple teams be able to take advantage of this, push out onto the top of that bus depot and get a kill as they're pushing up. But Most Wanted does appear to forego that route, and if you remember, it was Chala who got that kill actually onto Geo to essentially put Most Wanted in comfortable position into the playoffs last time around with a very similar Valkyrie camera too.
I remember a long time ago in the earlier seasons of the Pro League when Border was just coming into really being a map that was played. Some of you may not know this if you're just tuning into the Pro League for the first time, but Border was actually a map that now is considered to be one of the more balanced ones in the Pro League. In the past was considered to be, well, nobody liked it, nobody played it, nobody wanted to see it. And it took a long time for pros to warm up to it. But when the meta was first developing, in North America very specifically, there was a lot of emphasis put on the north side of the building where you could see this Valkyrie cam. And it was a big challenge to get on top of that van and then onto the north balcony for the attackers. But since people found out you can just run on the roof to get to the north balcony, that kind of became less of a present in the meta. But yeah, long time that Border has been developing, and it's a lot of interest to see when things come backwards in the meta. Like, for example, that Valkyrie cam on the north side is a step backwards to try and counteract the possibility of that meta shining through from the past.
There's an ebb and flow, right? There are things that work and then fall out of favor for a number of reasons. New operators can bring them back into the fold. Specific team strategies can bring it back too. And really, if you're doing the same thing over and over again, you'll start to see teams that might not have the same technical proficiencies that other teams will, if this good mechanical aim, will start to do those unconventional strategies that were used before. So that Valkyrie camera is a good indication of the fact that,
this run out.
This is working.
What is this run out?
Sees Redeemer, what a shot from NVK. And wow, the Ying gets up there and just snoozing gets caught as NVK, though, refragged from Trippin.
But he's not aware of the mirror. BC will get the shot.
Wow.
That is unfortunate from Trippin.
That was not
ideal. Don't want to put too much emphasis on one particular player, but Trippin has unfortunately been missing a lot of shots we're not used to him seeing miss.
Could be nerves.
Could be nerves, could be just a little bit off today, but it's not the same Trippin we're used to. And as Young gets another kill onto Chala, it's looking worse and worse for Most Wanted in this 2 versus 4 now. 1 versus 4, as I say that. King Leo being eliminated from Canadian inside of CCTV. It's all down to Thinking Nate. He's had some pretty good bouts of, well, challenging Continuum throughout this match, but I don't know if he's going to be able to pull this off. With only 12 seconds, it's unlikely. Yeah, there it is. Young finishing off Thinking Nate, locking out that round. Great defense from Continuum, really thwarting any sort of an attack from Most Wanted. Kind of dealing with the prongs before they even had a chance to be utilized. That run out from MVK was just the start of things.
Yeah, and from there it all crumpled. You know, your Ying is going to be one of the most important aspects of your push and centered around your strategy. Yeah. When you lose them that quickly on, it spells trouble for the rest of the 30, 40 seconds, however much is left in the round. In this case, there was only 30 seconds. So for them, extremely difficult to regain that momentum and find a new way of attacking that site without the ability to have smokes as well as Candelas.
The attack strategy for Most Wanted was very simple. Situate on the north balcony, establish control over office. Once we have those two things, use the crossfire that affords us. Lay down those smokes and Candelas, like you said, get the diffuse plant. That's all it really was. There was also the roam clear factor that from Trippin downstairs. Unfortunately, every single prong of that attack was thwarted by the Continuum hold. Downstairs, the roam clear was unsuccessful. The run out from MBK got rid of the north balcony, and then the offices left alone to challenge not only the actual bomb site, but the mirror window inside CCTV. Of course, you're not going to be able to make that attack work for you. 2-0 now, again, reflective of the past. No serious deviation coming from on this map so far, but we have always seen Most Wanted awake in the later ends of the map. I don't know if it's going to be enough this time, similar that it wasn't on Oregon, on a map that Continuum is just so much more proficient on. But eventually, Most Wanted will likely start winning rounds and put us at least into questioning the possibility of overtime.
One thing that a standard viewer or spectator would not know is that previously, because they were in different groups, and at the start of the season, Most Wanted and Continuum were scrim partners for the entire offseason, and then the start because of, like I said, one being in Group A and one being in Group B. Now, how coincidental it is that you have to go up against your scrim partner in the playoffs could be that maybe they're expecting CTM to use similar strategies and they're just not.
You know, the thing is, it's funny, usually when a team is picking another team in the opposite bracket to be their scrim partner, they will pick, and I know this sounds bad, but this is the truth, they will pick the team they least expect to meet them in the playoffs. So Continuum, when they're like, who do we want to scrim against throughout the season? They're like, oh, Most Wanted, let's do that. That is them saying indirectly that they don't think necessarily Most Wanted will make it to the playoffs. Now, of course, they haven't actually said that. I doubt they would have seen that. But it's an indirect statement. And the fact that they were scrim partners meeting now in the playoffs is basically going to be a little bit of a case of Most Wanted will have something extra to read into here with these matches, even though obviously Continuum being the sort of team that's going to be prepared for any situation and have things they have not shown to any one team. You know, obviously they have different scrim partners that they showed different strategies to. But all that aside, this round so far has been playing out very slow. Chala gonna get the first kill onto Canadian with only a minute left to go. He's playing inside a fountain very well. He should have just been eliminated here, but he's managed to at least take one person with him before being needed out by BC. CCTV control still in the favor of Most Wanted, and they are using it to try and slow down this office push, but the mirror window being opened up by Necrox to the B bomb site is going to put more pressure on those anchors. Continuum with a pretty efficient attack so far, despite losing Canadian early on. Here comes the continuation of the push. MBK looking for Trippin, will find him inside of B. Just looking for any opportunity to establish the dominance. And there isn't a lot in Most Wanted's hands to try and stop this from going in favor of Continuum. I believe there's still C4 from below though. 17 seconds to go. BC gonna be challenging that C4, will take out Thinking Nate. That's none of the stops in favor of Most Wanted to deny this defuse plant besides the Echo Drone, and it will be too slow. The defuse plant going down behind the B bomb site, and now it's a 2 versus 4. There's not a lot that Most Wanted can pull away here. King Leo now the only one left alive as Young finishes off Redeemer with the site push. And it's likely he's gonna be eliminated, but no, BC will in fact fall. Young finally locking out the round onto King Leo. On that north balcony, nothing in the hands of Most Wanted to stop this from going in favor of Continuum. They could not deal with the north balcony. They could not deal with the office push.
No, not at all. And I mean, the thing too is how many members of Continuum had just a tiny fraction of health left? There was 2 of them, both BC and Young were basically running on empty at one point. King Leo was able to get 1, but of course that rifle shield of Blackbeard was the saving grace for Young. And it was a simple matter of Chala got the first leadoff kill, did a great job of it, but then was cornered, and you could see that he was under pressure from Young. If he had moved, the Blackbeard would have caught him. BC was able to employ that grenade to take him out. And it was just an issue where now 2 rounds in a row where Most Wanted's, I guess their preference on defense here has now been thwarted. And this spells disaster for the team that has given Continuum their biggest challenge so far. You see BC here now making a statement, being either top fragging or being second in his 3rd consecutive game. 11 kills in game number 1, 9 kills in game number 2, and now you can see
BC's awake today.
He's ready. He's
yeah.
ready. If CTM is ready, he's ready too.
Yeah.
So.
BC has been having, honestly, the day of his life. He's always been a performer, but geez.
At this level, top fragging, he doesn't even play fragging roles. That's the other thing too, is that he is besting your roamers and your entries on support, and doing so.
He's a lot like Young. He's the sort of support like rock player that CTM as a whole will pivot around, and he has been in the right spot at the right time in most of these situations.
Absolutely, and it's been such a benefit to his team to be able to play around somebody like that. And we said that, you know, when a team can carry the weight, it's really important. And, you know, BC is somebody who's having an exemplary personal performance. But it's that whole saying, what's that saying, that a rising tide lifts all boats or something along those lines? It's the same thing as BC is playing very, very well. The rest of the team is emboldened too. And you know that even if BC goes down, you still have NBK, you still have Canadian. And probably the biggest, I would say that CTM right now occupies that role of the team with the most like out and out actual performers in terms of kills. Every single person on this team is capable of top fragging really well and can do so on every team, I would say, in Pro League so far.
But you know what I see from the dynamic of Continuum specifically is that you have 2 anchors, or two rocks to pivot around. You've got that Young and that BC, right? Then you've got 2 people who just really stand out and go for those extreme frags. You've got Canadian and MBK, and then you have the X Factor, the unknown, that is Necrox. It's got a really good... All that aside, though, moving into this round, 1 minute, 40 seconds, and Continuum have very successfully stalled out this attack from Most Wanted. They're trying to get control of this top floor, but all they've really been able to do is get archives as the repel, interestingly, comes in from Redeemer. He will have control over the lockers before King Leo finishes off Necrox on a long angle trying to rotate. An excellent collapse for Most Wanted as Chala gets another kill onto NVK and forces this roam game from Continuum all the way back to the bomb sites. This is not what you want. 1 minute as a defensive team inside the bomb sites on a customs defense. This is terrible for Continuum's hold and likely will spell disaster overall for the round.
You've lost your smoke. They did have a gamble by having Necroc, so like not so far off site, but it was a gamble nonetheless. That is usually where your smoke will play on this site, so not too much of a surprise. But by picking this site, you end up running the risk of losing a powerful operator in those gadgets, and you can see he was able to use his Toxic Babes, but it wasn't able to do much. BC is going to get a kill onto King Leo. That's going to be BC's 6th as he gets the first frag, but Redeemer refrags onto BC, and CTM only has 2 left right now. 4v2, 30 seconds, round number 4. But you've still got Young and Canadian up, so you still have that potential to steal a kill or 2 away. Young tries to make that happen, and wow, he sees Chala drop. Good control from Young as he manages to lose half of his life, but still wins the fight, and he sees another. But he's taking fire from Thinking Nade, and the SAS operator of Most Wanted is able to secure that kill and leave it just to Canadian now, who might actually be able to get this. He jumps in, stops Diffuser, only 4 seconds left. Nobody's in position to get that Diffuser up. Thinking Nade's gonna run out of time, and Canadian! Oh my goodness, wins round number 4. Most Wanted nowhere close enough, and Canadian a tremendous job. And now we are on match point 4-0. That was a round that Most Wanted should not have lost.
I mean, we've talked about Canadian and his reads in the past, and that is a nice prime example of Canadian's game sense coming into play and winning without any need for a serious skirmish an entire round single-handedly. It was completely out of Continuum's hands. They had lost that round, ladies and gentlemen. And then Canadian just vaulted in through a window.
And got it. And I can't believe there was no Claymore, there was no covering fire. Where are the other 2 members of Most Wanted? They're in customs. They are not in the actual room itself.
And you have to blame them a little bit too. They were frag hunting. They were looking for that last kill. All right, it's a 3v1.
It's fine.
There's no way for Canadian to possibly clutch this out. It couldn't be in a position to stop the defuse plant because we've stopped the only way into the bomb site, which is where it's being planted, by having control over customs. Oh wait, there's a window. Unfortunately, an oversight from Most Wanted, and now, where in the past they have had to win 3 rounds in a row, given that to get it into overtime on every other map, now they have to win 4 whole rounds in a row, given that they lost the round they usually win.
That's a daunting task.
Yeah.
In order to, you basically have to win out to overtime at this point. There is 0
They've done it before, but on Coastline.
They have, and you have to do it in a sense that it's win now or that's it. Your season is done, and because of the changes now, with APAC getting these 2 spots, so for us, it's a situation where North America doesn't get a 3rd spot. EU doesn't get a 3rd spot. Because of this, you might see a team like Most Wanted say, okay, it's obviously we want to win this, but your silver lining in the past was that we might lose here, but hey, at least we would play the loser of Rogue, Infamy, and potentially get that 3rd spot. That doesn't exist anymore. That option is off of the table, and you do not have that choice now. You need to win this, or else enjoy your seeding match. It's just simply for the standings, nothing else. And now, Most Wanted are going to have to try and find the Cinderella story for their team and hope that it didn't just strike midnight.
As MVK gets the first kill of this round onto Chala, one of the most important fraggers on Most Wanted side, I don't think it's to be in this matchup. Chala, in the past, has done a lot of work inside of that fountain, delaying the office push from Continuum. Unfortunately, not going to happen this time. Most Wanted going to have an even steeper cliff to Boulder. As the round ticks away, Continuum have everything in their favor, all of the prongs for this attack, the pincer, and the push pressure coming from Office.
Final minute and a half. Redeemer will get reset, but still an advantage of numbers in favor of CTM, looking to go back to the playoffs for the first time in 2 seasons. Now, Thinking Nade looked poised to vault out that window. What a shot from Young! Thinking Nade goes down, and it's a 5v3. Are we going to see a flawless 5-0 from the former world champions? They look poised to do so. They've taken the Valkyrie, and they've taken the Ela. Redeemer will be the big question mark with Trippin and King Leo, but Young poised on top of Vehicle Customs, over top of that bus depot. He's just going to wait. Attackers recover the defuse. 1 minute to go. The nerves surely for Most Wanted, realizing that their hopes are in the hands of 3 members, all of whom are hoping to go to land for the very first time, but 1 round could potentially determine that. Young is going to get a second kill onto King Leo, and oh, with BC joining in, trip and goes, it's all left to Redeemer. Can he redeem the dream? As he takes down NVK, and there's still 4 left. He will need an ace clutch as Diffuser goes down, and the 3 armor, 1 speed Echo rotates in through security. He goes on his Yokai drone, but BC is right there. Does he not know that through the wall, the Buck waits? A quarter of the Diffuser has gone down.
Doesn't look like anyone from Continuum is aware of Redeemer's position, and Redeemer will get the first kill of this 1 versus 4 onto BC. That's 2 from total, but nope, Young on the window, as we have seen so many times before in the past, locks out the round, him being the rock that is just unmovable on these windows. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Continuum will be going to this season's LAN in Sao Paulo. They have qualified at least for 1st or 2nd seed out of North America, and Most Wanted's hopes have been dashed, although it was certainly an excellent fight.
Yeah, Continuum is back. And here we go. To LAN they go. We will see them in Brazil. A flawless 5-0. And what a performance on border. Still a shocker after they went down on Coastline.
I mean,
able to come back.
I don't think it was too much of a shocker. Come on, it's Coastline. What we saw there clearly from Continuum, they ran out of a couple of they weren't entirely sure what they were doing on Coastline. They had strategies, but they only had a couple. And on